Hi, welcome to Art and Soul. My name is Mike Severin. I'd like to thank you for joining me again today. I'm excited because we're about ready to start a new painting, and that's always exciting. I like finishing them up, but they're always fun to start a new one. Today what we're going to do is, you can see behind me is this painting of this lighthouse, and we're going to be doing this lighthouse for the next couple of weeks. And it's a very simple painting, but it's one that I think you'll enjoy, and it's something that maybe you can sit down and pull out the paints and a canvas and join along with me as I'm painting. What I've done here, I've got a 16 by 20 stretch canvas, and what I've done is, I don't know if you can see it across the screen or not, but I've put a horizon line here just below center, which will be our ocean, just the edge of the ocean that will be there. And I've just kind of lightly sketched in just kind of maybe where the rock formation will be here and across the front a little bit that comes in down here at the bottom. And then our little house here where the lighthouse keeper would be. And then just a very light sketch of maybe the size and where I want the lighthouse itself to be located. And again, this is just more just for layout purposes. And we kind of talked about this a little bit last week. There's elements in every painting. You've got a horizon line, you've got the sky, you've got the middle ground, and you've got the foreground. And because this is a show about soul as well as art, I've kind of changed it up a little bit. So the horizon is healing. The sky is for our soul. The middle ground is for mending, and the foreground is for forgiving. And I think we need to remember to forgive ourselves as well as those that we've maybe hurt. So what we're going to do is we're going to start right in by throwing some paint down. And we're going to start by just, I'm going to take this big old 3-inch brush to begin with. And I've got just a little bit of linseed oil here. You can do this with walnut oil. A lot of people use walnut oil. But I'm just going to put just a very, very, very thin layer across. And all this does basically is just helps the paint to work a little smoother across the surface. And then I just take and rub off all of the excess off of it. Just helps it just move a little nicer on the canvas. And so what we've done then is I'm going to go to the palette here and show you what we've got. I've got alizarin crimson, which I'll show you what if we get to it with the lighthouse. I've got some burnt sienna. I've got some lake green, which is kind of a almost like a phthalo green. I've got the cerulean blue, and I've got this lake magnesium blue here, some purple and some white. And what we're going to do is we're just going to start out with some cerulean blue, just straight. And there's still some of that linseed oil that's on the brush here. And we're going to start up here in the corner, and you can see it's pretty dark there, which is fine. We want, if you notice on most paintings, you've got a real dark or darker on the edges, and they come in. And what it does is it makes your eye focus in on the subject that's in the center, that's the focus. So along with that, I'm just going to just grab some white right there on the brush. And I'm going to just incorporate that in now. And if I go over the top of the lines, it's no big deal. They're basically, we had them there just more as an outline, just to kind of get us a layout of the page itself or the canvas. As you can see, it's quite light down here at the bottom, down by the horizon line. And we'll just gradually keep working that up. And we'll vary it. We'll throw in a little bit of more of the cerulean blue in there. And as it gets up here, it's going to blend in with that cerulean that we'd already put up there in the corners, the straight cerulean. This is just a nice, happy, quiet afternoon at the beach. Not a whole lot going on in the sky. And you can see I'm just taking lightly with the brush, and I'm just taking and blending this out a little bit. Maybe feathering that a little nicer up there in the corners where it fades into the little darker. But just really lightly now, back and forth across the canvas. Just here we've created a very simple, nice little sky without a whole lot of effort. The reason why I put this line across here for the horizon line is really important, because we want to make sure that we've got an ocean that's straight. If this is crooked, all the water's gonna pour off the screen onto your living room floor, and your family is not gonna be happy. So try to make this just as straight as you can across there. Now what we'll do is we're gonna carry on this color a little bit down into the water, because if you look at the water line on the ocean or any body of water, it's really close. It picks up a lot of the light that's reflective down from the sky. So we're going to start out with just a light going across here of that cerulean blue with the white. So we've got a nice horizon line across there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start building the actual ocean itself. And we're going to switch brushes here to one of the 1-inch brushes. And this happens to be one of my favorite brushes there. It just seems to work well for me. And it's actually designed for floral. And I don't do much floral, but I just like it's a softer bristle, and I like the way it feels. So now with what we're going to do here, if you remember when you look at the ocean, I'll show it on the picture here. The water is really quite flat across here, and then the closer that it gets, you get more of the wave action. And that's what we're going to be doing here today. So we're going to go into this phthalo blue, which I think I called it purple earlier. It's actually the phthalo blue. And we're just going to lightly just put in just some phthalo blue across here. And if you notice, I'm just going straight across the water. It's not any really whole lot of movement at that point. But as we get closer, what we do is we take, and it's kind of more of a comma, if you want to call it, sideways comma. And it just goes back and forth across, varying where we put it. And the closer that we get down here to the foreground, the bigger, because those waves are going to be closer, they're going to have more swell to them, or swale to them. So I'm going to go straight into some white, because I've already got the phthalo blue on there. And I'm going to start incorporating in some of that, which is going to lighten up that phthalo blue. And it makes a really beautiful color across the water there. I was over at a little place called Syracuse Lake. It's over by Florence. And I was out on that lake one day, and lake was very calm, very, very beautiful day. And I was out in the canoe and by myself, and I was just exploring and going along, and I noticed the wind starting to pick up a little bit, and I thought, well, I'll go a little farther before I turn back. And before I could get a chance to turn back, and what I'm doing here, just so you know, I'm getting over here into this lake green, which is almost like a phthalo green, and I want to incorporate some of that in here as well. But about the time that I got where I was going to turn back, the wind had picked up considerably, and when I tried to turn the canoe, the wind would take the bow of it and it would spin the canoe around, and it kept shoving me farther and farther and farther towards the shoreline, till eventually I was sitting right on the edge of the shore. And I'd try to turn around and try to get back out, and I'd do fine as long as the bow of the boat was facing straight dead into the wind. But if it got off to one side or the other a little bit, it would spin it around and shove me right back into the shoreline. And finally, a couple that had watched me for quite a while, that were out in the lake in a boat, they came over and they towed me back into shore. So it can look really calm, but if you've ever been to the Oregon coast, you know that it can change quite rapidly. And what I was doing there is I was talking, I brought in a lot darker now of that phthalo blue, and we'll bring that in quite dark across here, because the closer that you get to that body of water, you're going to pick up a lot more of the depth that's in the water there. And if you notice, I am just kind of hit and missing. I'm not taking and painting this straight all the way across with one color. I'm leaving the gaps so that I can come back and incorporate the phthalo greens and the whites in there. And plus, part of what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting where these big waves are crashing up over these rocks that are here on the foreground. So we want this darker so that when we put those waves in, they're really going to pop out. So that's probably pretty good there. I want to bring in some of that green now, that phthalo green. And I'm just going back and forth. You can see those comma strokes that I was talking about. Give the motion of, or the effect of the motion of those waves as they're coming in. It's looking pretty good. Now, before I get too far, I want to bring in some more whites in here to start distinguishing out some of the waves. But before I do that, I think we're going to take and block in our rock formations here that the lighthouse is sitting on, and the rocks that come in around the sides, and then we'll block in our lighthouse as well. So I'm going to keep what I've got on the brush. I'm not going to clean it out. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to take now and I'm going to bring over some burnt sienna and some more of that phthalo blue, and maybe just a hair of the alizarin crimson in there as well. So we've got a very dark color that's on our brush, and we want to start out dark because we can always take and lighten it up later. So we'll have this as our base here of our rocks that come across, and maybe they come over here, and this big old section that juts down into the water right at the edge. And here we're just kind of just throwing it in. I'm just picking up a little more color here, adding in just a variety, not really mixing it on the palette very much. I'm just bringing it in, incorporating in. A lot of people struggle with rocks, and that's one of the things that maybe over the course of this show you'll kind of get a better sense of rocks that are really not as difficult to paint as what you would think. And so we've got this little rock. Maybe there's a little rock that jets out here across. And as you can see, all I'm doing basically is I'm just blocking this in, kind of scrubbing it in to the canvas, making sure that more than anything that I'm covering up all of that white that's there. So So you've got quite a model bunch of colors that you're seeing there in that formation. You got greens and you've got blues and you've got the browns in there. And we're going to just reload up here again with some more of the same color. And we'll just throw in just a splash of some white in there. I want it more on the brownish side, but I want those other colors to come through as well. So we'll come across over here and we'll block in a rock formation here. Most of these rocks that are right on the edge like this have been beat with the tides and the wind for years and years, and so most of them are actually quite smooth. They're not jagged usually, unless they've been broke up. But so you'll see as we get a little farther in here. This rock we want, it's going to be it'll be in the foreground. So these rocks will be behind it. So I want this just a little bit darker here so that I can make it stand out a little more. And again, I've got quite dark in these corners because remember what I had said earlier, we want to make sure that those are darker so that it brings your eye into the focus, which is the ocean and that beautiful lighthouse that we're gonna be painting. I'm going back and forth across here. I was thinking about it when I was preparing to do the show today, about how that a lot of times in our lives seems like we get where we have a lot of things that kind of like a ship out in the ocean that's just shoving us around, and the winds and the storms are raging around us, and it seems like that they are in many ways controlling our lives. And life just pushes, and just like in a storm, the wind is just pushing and pushing and pushing everything towards the shore. And a lot of times that's the way we feel in life, that we're just being tossed about in this boat, and it's really hard for us sometimes to go against that. But if you are a person that sails, you know that no matter how strong the winds are, if you want to go the opposite direction of that wind, there's a technique that they call tacking. And you go back and forth against the wind, using the wind in the sails to actually move you into the direction of the wind itself, which is pretty cool if you know how to do it. If you don't, you can be found on the rocks. And I think if we learn how to tack through life, maybe we can get through those storms that come along with a little more grace and a little more dignity, and we can go any direction that we want to go in life if we just know how to work against that wind and society and the pushes that it makes on our lives. I've taken just a little bit now of the white along with the burnt sienna, and I want the lighthouse, I'm going to put it in here, block it in, and I want it just a little bit more light colored. The one side obviously is going to be darker. We're going to have the light source, sun coming in this direction, so the right side of the lighthouse will be lighter than the right side. And I'm just going to take and block in just a rough outline of our lighthouse. There's all sorts of different types of lighthouses. Maybe there's one that you like specifically and you want to paint that. Just grab a picture of it and do that. I've just, again, picked up just straight white. I've got that color still on my brush. And we'll go across here on the outside. And again, all we're doing is blocking this in. This is not going to be the final color, so don't anybody panic. This is just, we're just doing the blocking in, making sure that we have everything correct and placed the way we want it. So now we've got the lighthouse itself. Well, let's do this little building that's down below here. And again, we'll go straight into that burnt sienna, bring in a little bit of the white in there, a little bit of this mud color that we've been working in. And let's do across the bottom here, just the main structure of that building. And if you want to use a different brush, you don't want something this big to do this with, that's perfectly fine. Everybody's got their own preference. I'm not really worried about it at this point because, again, we're just blocking this in. So that's the building itself, and I think I will switch to a littler brush as we get now into the that roof line, and I'm going to take it's like a 1/2-inch brush here, and we're going to have this roof eventually red, and so in order to get it where we have a nice base color for it, we'll start with the alizarin crimson. I'm just using straight alizarin crimson, and we'll make this line, or make this roof line come across and down here a little bit. And see, this brush itself is a little bit actually too big itself. So don't be afraid to stop in the middle of, and you're in the middle of something. If it's not working for you, stop and find something that does work. So I put that in a little bit of paint thinner, got a little bit of that brown that was on there, and then we'll tap in now to that alizarin crimson. And we'll go right across here and come down, something like that, and over here the same way, trying to make sure that we've got these at about the same angle. Make sure we've got a nice straight roof line across. And I probably look like an old man because right now I've got my glasses. I'm looking over the top of them rather than taking them off like I normally do. So we've got just a little bit of a roof line that's there, and we're going to have a top on this as well. So we need to kind of figure out where we're going to put that, and we'll just block that in real quick. And I'm going to grab another brush here just to block that in with. So I'm going into that brown, that burnt sienna and white. And we'll put that kind of where it's right about there maybe. This is where the actual light itself is at. The glass that's in there. And again, we're just blocking in. We'll take and clean this up and develop this and put in the different colors that we're going to be using in that in the next session. And so up top, I want to take and grab some of that alizarin crimson, load that onto my brush, and we'll just block in really quickly kind of that outline of what that roof is, or the top, I should say. It's not really a roof on the top of the lighthouse. And we'll have to do some more tweaking to that, but I think that's pretty good for today. If you weren't ready when we started today, I would encourage you to kind of get caught up. It's very simple. We've just made the sky here with the cerulean blue and white, started in on our ocean just to develop kind of the pattern that we're going to do with the waves itself, and blocked in our rocks. And you can see it went really quickly today. It didn't take a whole lot of effort. Pretty simple. And you can do this. I want you to know that you can create anything you want to create. It's all inside of you. And don't let the winds of the storm of life slam you against the rocks. You have the ability to tack back and forth. It may take you a while, but you can tack back and forth against the wind, and you can go anywhere that you want to go. You are a creative being. God is your lighthouse. He's there to guide and direct you where those dangers are and keep you away from them. But if you get close to the shore and you get close to those rocks, look to the lighthouse. It's always there. It's always lit, guiding and directing you. So over the next couple of days, over the next week until we meet again, think about that in your life. Don't allow the winds to shove you in directions you don't want to go. You take control, and you can do it. You can be creative in anything you want to do. So in your family, your home, your work, your spouse, you can be creative in that environment, or you can be creative here. I encourage you to reach out, do something special this week, to paint, to draw, to do pottery, anything it might be, because it's good for your soul. Here in just a minute, the credits are going to start rolling across the screen. And I want you to feel free to contact me. My email address is on there. My Facebook page is on there as well. And if you've got a question about something, want to know something, how to do it, or a technique, or what products I use, feel free to email me. And I would love to hear from you. If there's something I say that is connecting with your spirit and you want to share that with me, I would love to hear it, because this is as much about you and making your life successful and happy as what it is about the painting. So until next week, have a great week. Enjoy the world around you. Take and spend a moment to enjoy the beauty that surrounds us in life. Till then, you have a great week. Love you, CJ.